And we are live.
All right. Yeah, we are. Look at that.
All right, and I guess
Welcome, everybody.
we'll give a few minutes to let some people trickle in.
Yeah, let's get some people in here. Let me go ahead and I'm going to start a watch party in our Master Networks group. I'm going to have to watch the Master Networks group because we are going to we're going to run into some questions in there, and they're not going to pop up on our feed, I don't think.
Okay, I've got it up as well.
Okay.
Okay.
So we'll see.
So what are we going to be talking about today?
So, Philip, we've got some cool things to talk about. What we're going to do is maybe just pose some questions to each other and talk about the mixture between technology and our processes in our business, and how we need to kind of pivot in this new kind of atmosphere with the COVID-19 virus spreading around and shutting businesses down, or limiting operating hours and things like that. How are we going to pivot and operate in this environment?
So if we were to sum this up, what do you think the number one biggest challenges for businesses during the COVID-19?
I think what I've been hearing is the most challenging thing right now is how do we keep our sales up? How do we keep our pipeline going? And how do we keep getting clients in even though our doors are shut? And so that's very vital for most businesses to kind of pivot how they do business now.
Well, it definitely makes a lot of sense. I know that it's something I'm worried about. Just with my IT business, normally, I'm meeting potential clients at Chamber of Commerce events, business networking events, and just from interactions with other human beings, and that's definitely been my sales funnel for a long time. I definitely do get some business from my website and things like that, but definitely not a majority of it. So, what kind of advice do you have for companies like that?
Well, I think, and we talked about this the other day, Philip, is, those things that you're doing in your business, you're going to have to keep doing those. So, making a list, finding out what those core things are that keep your sales afloat, keep your production line afloat, or, the different choices in those kind of arenas. But, we talked about someone else having, this is what they were doing. They were doing networking. They were doing like lunch and learns like this in public with a crowd, maybe 10, maybe 20. And then they were going out to expos. And so those are the same things that they need to keep doing, but we're just going to have to pivot those to being online or some type of thing like that.
That's a great way to remember that we still have to do the exact same things we have been doing. We just need to do them in different ways.
Absolutely. And for the networking, guess what? We're still in Master Networks. We're still doing face-to-face meetings. We're still doing chapter meetings. We're just doing it online through a virtual platform. Our lunch and learns. Guess what? That's what this is. Q&A, and you guys can ask any questions that you have, and we'll answer them. We got the screens pulled up with the chat windows, so we can see everybody's chat. So you can still do lunch and learns. You can still do things. You're just going to have to do them virtually for the time being. And then guess what? You're set up for success when you want to do a virtual one 6 months from now, and there's an all clear.
Yeah, I definitely think that. I mean, for instance, I had a face-to-face today. I know you did yesterday, and I actually prefer the virtual format. It makes it a whole lot simpler, not have to add 30 minutes to your day to drive from point A to point B to go meet with someone. And in fact, this may be a great time to say, hey, maybe this is how we need to do it in the future to respect more people's time, or at least have it as an option. Whereas a lot of people, if you ask them to have a video meeting before now, they'd say, hey, what are you talking about? Let's meet somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's a huge potential there. What I didn't have set up, and this is me, understanding that being a little vulnerable in business here, I didn't have all of the tools that I had set up for physical meeting, I didn't have that set up for virtual meetings. So you can't just go and sign up for a virtual meeting with me on my website. That wasn't something I had set up, and so.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. This is a great time to explore all the tools that we can put in our tool bag, and use this as a learning opportunity. I know a lot of people, a lot of tech companies, me being from a tech background, they don't have a problem when they say, "Hey, can you work remotely tomorrow?" That's just not a problem for us in the tech industry. We're like, absolutely, I'd love to work remotely tomorrow. But if you maybe asked an administrative assistant at a doctor's office who does medical coding or something like that, hey, can I work remotely tomorrow? They've probably never had that question. And I think after this, especially if you have members of your staff that may benefit from a remote work schedule, this could be hugely beneficial in the future.
Well, and actually, I was speaking to somebody the other day about this exact thing. In a medical office, you've got all those HIPAA requirements and things like that. Do you have the VPN set up through Robb Technologies so that it's HIPAA compliant, so that your people can do things from home, even in those medical environments?
Yeah, so it's kind of using this as a really cool way to grab some more tools, put them in the toolbox, and be able to expand your capabilities in the future.
Absolutely. And I think expanding your capacity and your capabilities for the future, doing that right now while you've got some of us have some extra time to do things that we wouldn't normally do. We are, like you said, we're not spending that 30 minutes driving back and forth. So we've got an extra hour to, maybe take a phone call or set something up with a vendor and get some things into place, so that 6 months from now we're not only recovered, but our capacity has grown tremendously.
Absolutely. Everybody that's watching, just a reminder, you're more than welcome to comment any questions you have, and we'd love to answer them for you.
Yeah, it looks like we've got Katie Jo Schaefer, Dan Bays, and Megan Peterson in the watch party on the Master Networks group. Welcome, guys. And I'm not watching the chat room for the other two pages, so that's Philip's got that under control. So what I was going to ask you, Philip, is what are some things that we can put into place that are really, I would say, inexpensive, but expands your ability to do things, inexpensive and maybe easy, especially if it's outsourced to an IT department like you. What are some things that you've been seeing your clients requiring or asking for or needing, or what are the things that you've been recommending here lately?
So there are companies that still have desktop computers. Quite a few of them. You do get better bang for your buck with desktops, so it's not a bad thing to have a desktop. Most big Fortune 500 companies, they're only issuing laptops now. But some companies, primarily, for instance, I have a law firm client, they still all have desktops. And so remote desktop access to those, simply because it's impractical for them to take all the IT infrastructure out of that network. So it's just easier for them with the licensing and everything else that goes along with the software they use to simply remote desktop into that secure system and be able to do their job just as if they're sitting behind their desk. Another big thing is obviously the remote meeting technology like we're using right now has become huge. Because there's several businesses that when they meet with clients, it is a good thing to have that in-person, face-to-face communication. But obviously, telecommunications and virtual meetings like this are a huge benefit during this time. For instance, if you're a lawyer, you may not, and I'm not sure about all the legalities of a lawyer meeting over video conferencing, but just to kind of throw it out there, they can still meet with clients. And they don't have to sit there and shake 100 people's hand a day as they're doing their consults. So I know that's a really big benefit to businesses because the number one things they have to do is they still have to go on their computers, they still have to enter that information, they still have to do sales calls, they still have to do all this kind of stuff. And most of that, everything's going to be on a computer. So the ability to kind of take that out of the office and do it anywhere, even if you do have that desktop infrastructure, or maybe maybe your company doesn't allow you to take a laptop out of there due to data security concerns. Maybe they don't want you to take client data home. This is a way for you to be able to do that, and I think that's a huge benefit. It's actually something in IT we use all the time. We'll use laptops for 90% of our work, but most of our workloads need heavier, bigger computers to do the big lifting. And so having a small, lightweight laptop with a great battery life and then remoting into those big systems that do our big, heavy lifting is a huge, huge help.
Absolutely, those virtual systems are getting real big. I know they're doing it. They've been doing it in the IT world, like you said, for a long time. But now we're kind of bleeding into the user interface for employees, for big companies. It's becoming easier and easier to do that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: what are you doing? I know you can do virtual things because of IT. What are some of the adjustments that you've had to make as a business owner here in the last couple of weeks with all of this pandemic scare?
Well, actually, I've been obviously a lot of my clients have slowed down their operations. Just as most businesses have. So I've been doing a little bit less work, but I've been jumping on this opportunity to take the time to do a little more training for myself. I'm stuck down, and I know a lot of people also are. So I've got some free time, and I said, hey, this is a great opportunity for me to extend a little bit of my education. So I've got a program, I've got a certification I'm doing that it's going to take me probably about a month, and I'm going to utilize the time that I would have been working on client stuff to do training so that I could expand my services to my customers. And so even though I may kind of represent that as a loss right now because obviously it's time I could be billing, I'm essentially expanding my services so that whenever we come out of the tail end of this, I can offer better security services to my clients. That's one of the
Absolutely.
That's one of the biggest changes I made.
I'm glad you mentioned the training and stuff. That's one of the things that I've been doing, listening to audiobooks and taking training online. I try to do that pretty regularly anyway. I've ramped that up. So the online training and getting additional certifications, additional just knowledge and tools to put in the toolbox. Those things are very valuable, especially right now. And getting those things for ourselves to expand our business is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I think especially if a lot of companies are wanting to help their employees out, keep them on payroll, and I believe there's some tax benefits to doing that. Where they're letting you write some stuff off. Don't quote me on that, but I believe that's right. And I think utilizing this time and saying, hey, well, if we've got these employees and we're paying them anyways, why not build their capabilities? Why not, if I believe it was Abraham Lincoln that said it. If I had 5 hours to chop down a tree, I'd spend 3 hours sharpening my axe.
Absolutely.
And I think this is a fantastic time. If we can't do our normal business, let's sharpen our axe, let's work on our business so that when we are back to 100% operations, we're running better than we did before. We're running more efficiently, and we can offer our clients better and quicker services that would lead them with higher customer satisfaction.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think that's very interesting that you would even talk about the sharpen your axe. That's something that I've been kind of talking about a lot lately is how am I sharpening my axe? Because I can chop down a whole lot more trees with a sharp axe than if I had a dull axe and I just started whacking away and using my muscles and getting fatigued and things like that. And, one of the principles I try to teach as well is, hey, let's prevent the fire instead of fight the fire. And a lot of business owners, especially small business owners, they don't know that they can get these resources to go sharpen their axe or to prevent these fires. So their day is filled with just fighting fires and trying to prevent catastrophe. We had a winemaker one time. He, God bless him, but the kind of thought process was that he was a great winemaker. He just had to ruin the wine so that he could recover the wine. And so, if you just make the wine good in the first place instead of neglecting it, then you'll have some good stuff to work with on the back end. And I think that's, quality control and production control, including your small business service. So there's all kinds of different services out there that are hurting right now. And if you sharpen your axe, then you can actually come out of this ahead, I think.
Well, and another thing that I've noticed is a lot of people are spending a lot more time on Facebook right now, and generally online media in general. And so while a lot of companies are thinking, hey, maybe we should pull back our marketing budget, I think right now is the time to double it down, because the amount of exposure you can get per day, depending on your clients, of course, but the amount of people that are on Facebook, spending time on Facebook, like for instance, us doing this video conference because everyone's stuck at home. There are great ways that you can do right now in advertising to build your business a little bit. And so even though you may not have an immediate customer, you'll have a lot more brand recognition, a lot more people that know what you do, and a lot more people that are willing to help you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we didn't touch on the expo side of that thing that I was talking about earlier. The guy that was saying he was doing a couple of different things, networking, talks, and like lunch and learns like this, and then he was doing expos. Well, the online version of the expo is these Facebook groups. We put together one for our networking group, and then there's been and I don't know if it was out or if it's just now being exposed to me, but there's a kind of an artisan kind of group on Facebook that has popped up, and a lot of our businesses that we're networked in with, they are a part of that, and they've got a venue to advertise their products and services to a large audience all the time. And so those expos, they may last for a day or maybe a weekend, but these Facebook groups in your same category. So if you're an artisan, so I know that Pecan Ridge is in there. I know that the Brazen Buffalo's in there. I know that Fab Corn's in there. There's some coffee roasters in there in that group, and I'm getting a feed from that group all day long of different services and things, and how are they adjusting for this COVID-19. So those groups are your new expo. Get on Facebook, and if there is no group, create the group. Be the leader in the community. That's going to put you in a positive position to get those views and Facebook likes and have people respond to you.
Yeah, and I definitely could see certain business owners saying, hey, I don't mess around with Facebook very much. I don't really know what's going on. And I think this is a perfect time, especially if that's your excuse, because obviously it takes a lot more longer to do something the first time you do it than the second, third, fourth, and you can see the 12-year-olds on Facebook that can whip through it faster than any of us can. As a business owner, you will get to that point too, the more you do something. And since you've got some downtime right now, now's a great time to pick up good, productive habits and get good at them so that when everything gets busy back again, you can continue those habits in a time-effective manner. So such as like what you're talking about with the Facebook groups, simply making a Facebook post or a Twitter, Instagram, any of those social medias. If you can make a post a day, that could seriously help your business. If you've been putting that off, saying, I really don't have time, this would be a great time to build that process for your business and start doing it, and being able to do it in a quick and time-effective manner whenever your business starts getting busy.
Tad Terry has waved at us. We've got a wave from Tad Terry. Hey, Tad, how are you? We were just talking about you.
And for those of you who don't know, Tad is a chiropractor. He's working with it's Blair Chiropractic, correct?
Yep, absolutely.
And they do some pretty amazing stuff with the cervical spine, and definitely check him out.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll tell you what really surprised me, and I didn't even think about this, but they do like infant chiropractic stuff for infants, which, he was like, yeah, you just went through this traumatic experience and it twisted your body around. I was like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
I never did think about
And
that.
for those of you who are interested in it, Tad is actually offering a promo April 20th through May 1st. Normally the first meeting is $150. He's doing it for $25 during that promotion. So reach out to him and get that set up today.
Yeah, absolutely. Tad, we love you. Yeah, absolutely. We love you too. The the cool thing about being in the network and being around people is you get to learn and trust and know people. And I think a lot of people, like you said, they're pulling back from advertising. They're pulling back from all these other things, including their network. So.
So I know not everybody watching is a Master Networks member. You all should be. So some people may not know what like face-to-faces mean when we say that. And I think now's a great time, even if you're not in a networking group, to start doing face-to-faces. Can you kind of explain how that works and kind of the points we cover over them and give them a good synopsis of that?
Yeah, so when we talk about face-to-faces, there's all kinds of different names, but from different organizations all over the world. But basically, it's two people getting together, getting to know each other. And in our organization, we really focus on getting to know and trust people and being able to refer business to them and being able to also help them or receive help from them on a personal basis, right? So we are, kind of building a family, especially in the Lubbock chapter. We do pass referrals. We do want to do business. We do want to feed our families when we get home. And so we do calculate money and things like that. However, the main premise of this organization is kind of, just becoming a tribe, becoming a community, and helping each other. And so those face-to-face meetings are just the one-on-one, face-to-face, two people talking to each other. And we get together and do that to try to build some trust and understand what those other businesses do. Like both of us have met with Tad in the last 48 hours, right? So or something like that. So we're we both know about his business and what he's doing. And then if somebody else has got a business, then we know about that as well. If they tune in and they comment and they've got some questions, we're a little bit more intimately aware of what their business is going through as well. So those networking things, guess what? Lean in. Get in your network and lean into your network right now. If you don't have a network to speak of, or you don't have a formalized referral network like Master Networks, then you can talk to us about that as well. But that's a huge thing for businesses right now, withdrawing and saying, hey, I'm not going to do that. Have you seen a lot of that, Philip? Like they're just withdrawing from things. They don't need IT support right now, or they don't need something. Have you seen a lot of that?
I haven't seen a lot of people just withdrawn. I've heard it from other businesses primarily. I know of a marketing agency who said, yeah, we lost 3 of our biggest clients or something along those lines. And I mean, it makes sense, right? If you have uncertainty in the market, you should start hoarding cash. That'd be your very first instinctual item. To me, I kind of look at it more as an opportunity. How can we exploit this? Because if you lost your top 3 clients, guess what? That means you can go out there and find 3 more new clients. You got more space left in your business model. And right now, with everyone being online, everyone being bored, that if you make a post on Facebook, you're probably going to get 2 to 3 times the exposure just organically, not even paying for the advertisement than you normally would. And so, I mean, of course, it depends on what your business model is. I know for a fact these were just regular businesses, weren't oil businesses or anything like that, where their whole market was thrown in turmoil. So, especially maybe if you own a restaurant, people are sitting there going, "Geez, I'm not going to be able to make any money." Well, people are sitting there at home. I guarantee you, when they reopen restaurants, a lot of people are going to be sick of their family members cooking. And they're going to want to rush out to another restaurant. And if you've made that contact, your restaurant may be sold out for 5 or 6 nights. And so I think just rather, I mean, it's very easy to be negative about the current situation and everything like that. But you've got people like supermarkets. This is not a bad time for them. This is a fantastic time, and there's a lot of businesses out there that are having a great time right now, and so thinking, hey, how can my business model serve those people? Um, I'm not going to do this, but for instance, in IT, I could sit there and reach out to some grocery stores, say, hey, I know you guys are going through a ton of stuff right now. Do you guys need an extra contract IT guy? That could totally be something that they could absolutely use and help. So just kind of like playing a mind experiments, if you will, to kind of say, hey, people are still making money right now. The people that have been making money may not be making money right now, but there are still customers out there. There are still people out there that need to be served, and some people are possibly overwhelmed by their current staffing. So for like instance in information technology, I guarantee you there's some grocery chains right now and IT guys and corporations that are going, oh my gosh, we can't deal with this. We used to do this in person. We're not as good as remote support. We could use an extra hand. And I mean, so there's definitely opportunities for every single business out there like that.
Absolutely. And I know, we've been dealing with gyms and weightlifting kind of things. I know I saw a Facebook post the other day from one of my personal trainer friends slash networking slash clients, good friend of mine. She had a bunch of weights in the back of her car, and she was like, hey, we're wiping all these down. If you want a loaner weight, then we'll give you the weight. And so she's finding a way to serve her clients outside of gathering in a crowded area, right? So she's breaking through and finding those little pathways. And I tell you what, if you're not doing that, if you're not pivoting in some way, both Philip and I, we try to focus on your strategy and what is it going to look like in 6 months, a year, 5 years from now. We want to set you up for success. And I know that there's lots of businesses out there that want to do that for you. So if you don't know and you feel lost or something, again, lean back on your network, whether you got a formalized one or, lean back into your people and get those answers and ask those questions. This is not the time to do it yourself.
Absolutely. I think, kind of thinking it is like, an airplane or a truck, whenever you put it into maintenance, you say, hey, well, while the truck's down, let's go ahead and take care of these outstanding items that have been bugging us for a while. I think we can definitely do the same thing with our businesses right now and saying like, hey, well, while we're not so busy, kind of like myself, doing security training has been something that I've really searched out because I've wanted to offer it as a product. It's kind of been a little hobby of mine for a long time, but I didn't feel that my skills were as mature as they needed to be for me to offer it to a serious client. And so like seeking out this training right now is going to open an entirely new avenue in my business. And, basically I'm taking, it's going to take me 2 to 3 weeks and that's it, where it would normally take me months. Simply because I have the free time, because a lot of my clients have reduced their operations. And at the end of this, I'm going to be in a much better position to offer my clients more services and therefore drive a little more revenue into my company and possibly get, new clients that wouldn't have been interested in my services otherwise.
Absolutely. And I think, we talk about doing those improvement projects right now, look at, and I've got a video releasing it too, cost of poor quality. You take those wastes in your business, and the business that you've got right now has the capacity. If you had that knowledge and that training, your business right now would be making those revenues off of those clients for that service, right? But you don't have it. You don't have that certification yet. So now is the time to work on that and expand that capacity. One of the things, again, I'm working on. We're redesigning the website. We're kind of refocusing and pivoting. We were going to pivot in the fall, and I was going to go on a long camping trip, but things change, right? Megan Peterson says, "Great tips, guys. Thanks, Megan. We love you too." The biggest thing is just working on your business right now while you've got those couple extra minutes, those couple extra hours in the day. If it's a certification, if it's a website, if it's your production or your quality services, and how your tasks are lined out, work on that stuff right now.
So there's from the tech side, I know a lot of people are saying, "Oh, we can do online meetings, we can do all this." So briefly, we can just go over the types of software, the different options that you have in that. Right now, Cory and I are meeting over Google Meet, which is you can do it up to I think it's 25 participants if you have just a free Gmail account. With enterprise services, anybody that's on G Suite, that number has actually gone up to 250 per call, and then you can have up to 100,000 people streaming. So that's an option. You also have Skype. You also have Zoom meetings, which are extremely popular. I actually had never used them until COVID-19, and now I've realized that, oh my gosh, a lot of people use Zoom meetings, and they've been fantastic. Remote desktop software is all over the place. There's LogMeIn. There's I use a product called Zoho. It's one of their offerings called Zoho Assist. It's kind of tailored more for IT professionals, but there's just tons and tons of different stuff out there. They're not a huge cost. They're definitely a big help. Especially, it's something that if you wanted to do it yourself, you could definitely do it yourself. Especially if you just have your own laptop, you're just trying to connect your office machine. Now, there may be some legalities depending on what your industry is and stuff like that. Definitely, you should consult a professional before you do something like that. But this is all stuff that you can go around, mess around if you've got some free time. What else would you recommend that people kind of check out and take this time to learn?
A lot of people love QuickBooks. I happen to use a different accounting software than that. If your accountant, if you've got an outsourced accountant or a bookkeeper, and they demand that you have QuickBooks, that's fine. But there's a lot of ways that you can actually cut costs and not sacrifice features on a lot of that software. So ZipBooks is one of the ones that I use. Your email services, if you're paying $10 an email or for an email address a month, you're paying too much. Google, I think, what is it, like $543 for a regular G Suite account, and that's tax included, something like that. And then there's just all kinds of free software out there that can actually prop you up for success. I know what do you use for tasking, Philip?
Zoho has a whole bunch of products, and so I use Zoho Desk. It's my ticketing system, and that's how I do everything. And another thing, like that something I've been trying to personally do lately. You've always heard somebody say, hold their phone, and they say, "Oh, well, I don't use 50% of what this thing can do." And somebody said that to me the other day, and it really hit home. I was like, I don't think I do either.
Yeah.
And that kind of made me sad as an IT guy. I was like, geez, you've got this Google Assistant stuff on there. I never mess with it. I haven't really figured it out all that much. And I want to try to start doing this. And, I learned how to, send replies to text messages via voice and stuff like that. And so if you do already have tools in your organization, this may be a great time to break out the manual, break out the training, and really make sure that you're employing your current tools in the best way possible, because little time savers like, I can respond to an email using voice to text, and I can write that entire long email in about a minute and a half where I would have had to type it in 5. Wow, that was amazing. That saved me a whole lot of time. Those kind of things can be so great if you'll just take the time to say, is this the best way to take care of this problem right now? And if you've got extra time, you've got time to learn it. Sorry, go ahead, Cory.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll touch a little bit more on that here in a second, as far as the Lean Six Sigma kind of viewpoint on that. Dan is saying he uses the free Wave app for all of his bookkeeping. I haven't seen that, but Wave, let's check it out. If it's free and it's bookkeeping and it can be exported out to your bookkeeper or something like that, setting up your chart of accounts is easy. Looking at your 1040 Schedule C, which defines available write-off category, fantastic. And if it's free, that's awesome. Thank you, Dan, for letting us know about this Wave bookkeeping. But what I was going to say about the Lean Six Sigma version of that is, are we overpaying or and underutilizing talent? And one of the things that the 8 Wastes of Lean has is like underutilized or misused talent. So that bookkeeping software or that tasking software, you may be a project manager and have 4 steps in every project, but you're using a $700 a year subscription to Microsoft Project. You don't need all of that. That's overkill. And so maybe you're not in construction, but you're still a project manager. Those Microsoft projects they've got all kinds of details. That's overproduction. That's underutilization. That's like putting someone with a PhD in Burger King flipping some burgers. You need to have that software for some better things. And so treat your software as an employee because you're paying for it, unless it's the free Wave app for all of your bookkeeping, and it's free. But you're still paying time into it. If it's not efficient, then maybe it is worth that $15 a month if you upgrade it to a paid service. If you're using a free service and it's actually costing you more time, then these are the philosophical things that are affecting your bottom line right now that you need to adjust so that when we get out of this little pandemic, you've got a launch pad into space because you're just so efficient.
Absolutely, and I just kind of thought of this. You're talking about utilization of the current resources you have. You may be underutilizing an employee, and you could actually have face-to-faces with your employees, kind of understand where their educational background is. Maybe somebody has some skills that they didn't mention during the interview because it wasn't relevant to their position, but you could utilize in your business. So maybe someone used to be a photographer and they could do some crazy photo editing for your social media, while they've got some downtime during COVID-19. So I think also just looking at all the resources you have in your company, whether it be people, whether it be software, whether it be hardware, and saying, hey, how can we best utilize these? We've got some time to think about it, especially people, because people obviously are the heart of our business, and everybody seems to have hidden talents, and occasionally those can really help your business.
Absolutely, and I think talking with my mentors over the years, having those systems set up to allow your employees and your team members to give the business feedback and say, we could improve this, we could do this better, and let them take the reins on some of that stuff as opposed to top-down leadership or top-down management. Having those systems in place is absolutely vital, especially if you plan on growing, and understanding that those growing pains are not going to be your problem. They're going to be the person on the front lines. That's their problem. They're going to want to solve that, and you've got to let them have that and be able to be autonomous and be responsible for solving those problems. Absolutely,
and sometimes it's just the way business owners are. We do get removed from the actual work going on in our businesses. You may have a truck driver delivering widgets, and you may not know the problems that he experiences with your company on a daily basis. And it's a great opportunity right now to talk to that guy, spend 15-20 minutes with him and say, hey, what are the problems? And he says, oh my goodness, this software that we have to scan these barcodes never scan. I probably spend 30 minutes every time I deliver trying to scan barcodes. That could be a problem inside your business that you're just so removed from you never hear about, where you have a real opportunity to try to take it to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely things that you can do to get those people engaged and talking to you and pushing their things out there. One of the things we talk about in Lean Six Sigma as well, and process management, is a thing called hidden factors. And I was actually recently in a beer brewing facility, and we were talking about the assembly line that they had of the beer canning line, right? So you've got the production of beer, and then you've got this canning line. So similar to the wine industry, which I work a lot in, you've got this manufacturing process of putting liquid in a can. Well, what would happen is every 12th can, the machine would just crush it, and stuff would go everywhere. And so what they did is they hired that one of their shop workers would take time away from doing real shop work, and his job, or her job, depending on the day, right, would be to grab that 12th can off of the line so that it wouldn't mess up the machine. So it would spray or something or whatever. Well, you're paying this guy to pull a can off. Why don't you just fix the machine? So we had to have that really tough discussion. But the thing is that the managers and the owners, they didn't know that problem even existed, or they would have just paid money to fix it, right? But the guys on the ground level weren't thinking 30,000-foot view to be able to say, oh, this might be costing more money to just put this guy here than it is just to fix the machine.
Right. They're just trying to do their job as best they can, get all that product out the door.
We were told it's due on Tuesday. We got to get it done by Tuesday.
Exactly.
Right? That's and so they've got this myopic view of their job, and that's fine in some cases. But you really want to try to employ and get these guys motivated to be entrepreneurs, entrepreneurial spirit inside of the business.
Yeah, and I think that could be as simple to do as Cory, did I lose you? Okay. I think you can just send out an email to your entire company and just say, hey, if you had unlimited funding and 100% management backing, what is one problem you would fix? And do an email survey and figure that out. Kind of what's on your people's minds, and even if you're on your own in business, if you had unlimited time and unlimited resources, what is that one thing you would fix about your business? And
yeah, exactly.
If you've got a ton of time, you're stuck at home. Oh man, I can't think of a better opportunity. I kind of was really bummed out about COVID-19. My business had really started. I basically doubled my monthly revenue in a month, and I was so excited about it. And then this hits, and I'm like, oh man, what am I going to do about this? And I tried to turn it into a positive, and I was able to. I said, oh man, I can expand my business. This is a great opportunity. Absolutely. I can run with what I've got, and I can expand. And so I think just the biggest thing is staying positive right now, and using this as a big lever, because most businesses never shut down. Most restaurants don't shut down. If you're a restaurant, you could go clean the entire kitchen. You don't get the opportunity to shut down for an entire day and clean the entire kitchen, maybe, or whatever it may be. What's Ramsey? What's his name?
Dave Ramsey?
No, not Dave Ramsey. The guy that gets mad at people on cooking shows.
Oh, Chef.
Yeah. When you see him, he has to shut down. When he's revamping kitchens, he shuts it down, the entire place, rips all the equipment out of the kitchen, and deep cleans it. Most restaurants don't get that opportunity. Most bars don't get that opportunity. Most retail front businesses don't get an opportunity to rip all the stuff out, clean everything, make everything look nice, touch up the paint, etc. And so, I mean, and not every business is a retail business, obviously, but every business has that ability right now to say, hey, we're slow. We've still got our labor force. We still have our mission, and we can use this time, to kind of revamp, rearm, and like you said, sharpen your axe.
Of course, Dan Bays, the chef.
Gordon Ramsay, yes.
Food aficionado.
I knew Ramsay was right.
Yeah, Gordon. And as soon as you asked me, of course, I had forgot. It went. So.
Yes, but I mean, if you kind of look at the way, when they're revamping a business, whether it be, I know Bar Rescue's another one, a bunch of those shows. I love those shows, and you always see them. They have to close the business to create the change. They have to retrain the employees. They have to look at their menu. They have to do all that, and that's how they turn a business around. And now maybe that's just a restaurant industry, but every single business has a menu of services. Every single business has a set of processes on how they're going to make those services or make that product to give it to their customers. And so you can do that to yourself right now, turn it around, and be able to rebuild just like they would on Bar Rescue or Kitchen Nightmares. I can't remember think of any ones, but you can kind of run that reality show on your own for your own business.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's a perfect time because we don't want to push the reset button. That's not something a business owner wants to do and say, hey, we're going to have even a safety stand down. A lot of businesses, multi-billion-dollar businesses, if someone dies in a factory or something, they'll have a safety stand down day, and all they do is talk about safety. They don't want to do that. They definitely didn't want someone to get injured or pass away or something like that. But they have to push that reset button and say, okay, are we focusing on the right things? So we've had that reset button pushed for us a little bit, right? So it's not voluntary, but it's a great opportunity to say, well, maybe it was a good time to push that reset button. Let's really dig in and look at our business and focus on preventive measures versus, and what was it that you said the other day? The ounce of preventive is better than a pound of cure.
Absolutely.
Right? And so, those are those things that you need to look at inside of your business and say, is my process of onboarding clients the best it can possibly be?
Dan's still being very active in our comments here. So
Yeah,
been there to seen that. Absolutely.
Been there, seen that. Yep. And it's, and it happens all over the place. We, as small business owners, we don't think that we can afford to shut down the business for a day, a week, or shut our doors. We can't, do our things outside. We can't meet with people. What are the things that you're doing that are having to pivot? Again, the place that I meet everyone for coffee, it is closed. You cannot get in there now. Guess what? Starbucks, they don't want you sitting in there and having a meeting. They've moved all the chairs. In fact, it was really funny.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I went in there and it was just completely empty, and I was like, guess I'm not staying here. They looked at me like, we don't want you here. So I was like, okay, bye. But so we got about 12 to 15 minutes left on our we planned for an hour. What I was going to say is, what are some things that you can see businesses doing in the future that are going to be proactive, that maybe we haven't seen yet, and something like innovative ideas that maybe some of the businesses in our group and in our network and the people that are watching now and in the future, they can use for their business? What are some of those tools?
That's a really good question, and obviously, it's really difficult to give business advice that's going to appeal to just everyone. But I do think that using this I was really impressed by what you said a few minutes ago when you started talking about safety stand downs. I grew up in Midland, Texas, obviously a very big oil field town. So I got drilled with safety stuff ever since, I was working anywhere around there. And, for instance, if you had an oil field company, this would be an excellent time to go, let's do a safety process analysis. Let's take a look at what in the world's going on here, and what are the things that we might have missed. Because obviously, one of the main problems I see in businesses, information security is one. It's never anyone's job. It's never something that somebody says, hey, Philip, you're going to take care of that, right? So I would do a physical security audit for a company, and hey, guess what's right behind the receptionist desk? An unlocked box with every key, including the file rooms with all the HR stuff. And it's oh, well, no one's in charge of security, so who is going to tell them that wasn't a good idea? The receptionist's job is certainly not information security, Yeah. But and a lot of things fall through the cracks in businesses. We get in a hurry. We do have to get work done. We have to get work turned in, and a lot of the times that does lead to things just getting put on a back burner, or maybe things getting swept under the carpet, if you will. And so I think now is a great time to lift up the carpet, look at all we swept under there, and say, wow, you know what? We could do this better. We could do that better. We don't have a process for this. Maybe. I'm a big fan of this show, The Prophet, Marcus Lemonis, and he always talks about people, process, and product. Kind of doing your own analysis of how your product gets made. What are your processes behind it? Who are your people behind it? Maybe you've got an employee that needs to swap out with another employee because they would like each other's jobs a little bit better. Maybe they can perform it a little better. Just kind of doing those kind of mental exercises to say, hey, what could we do different? Kind of brainstorming. Especially, again, if you're paying your employees to sit at home, that's just silly. Let's get some work out of them.
Yeah.
What can we do with the business? Even if it, I don't care if the guy's a project manager, and he's never ran a business in his life. I guarantee you, everybody can teach you something about something that you don't know, and bringing them in, even if they're not generally a business type guy or inside the board meetings. This is a great time to just bounce everything off everybody.
Absolutely. And I think, even forming committees in the past, I've been on a strategic people committee. I've been on all these different committees, information technology committee. Even though my job wasn't those fields, my voice was still important as an employee, as a manager, as a middle manager. And so we put those things together. That way we could all kind of bounce ideas off each other and have kind of a think tank. So those are great. And I firmly believe that everyone has the ability to continue to contribute even in this time, especially if they're not someone that you think is directly involved in that subject. I think they still have contributions to make. Dylan's got a question here. How do we keep our team motivated while they are away? Hoping it won't be like when you come back from spring break and 25% of everything you just learned is lost.
That is a great question. That is a fantastic question because obviously our team members in any business are the lifeblood. Employees are just so important to our day-to-day operations as business. And you're right. If they come back and they haven't done their job in 7 days, they're clearly not going to do it as well as they did when they left. And it actually probably be longer than 7 days, but you get the idea. Geez, that's a tough one. Maybe you have better since you're the operations consultant.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different things that you can do. I think one of the things that I would probably do is the first thing I would do is throw a we're back to work party, and not work during that party. But have a little reception, get everybody back in, do that kind of team building, bonding, talking to each other, having fun, having some punch, having some cake or something like that, or having some pecans, right? And some spicy quail eggs, right? So get in there, have a little bit of a get together, especially when everybody can come back to work, and just have a kickoff party and just kick that off. The second thing I would do is call them today, call them tomorrow, start checking on them if you haven't already started checking on them. Make sure that they're doing all right, because guess what? You're not an employer, you're a friend, you're a coworker, you're a family member in a lot of cases, especially with these small businesses. So when you put them back to work and you haven't talked to them in 2 weeks, and they're like, oh, I've got to go back to work. Their shoulders are down, maybe their chin is down a little bit, and you can really affect the positivity on that by throwing a little celebration. Hey, we're all back together. I'm glad to see you. Hey, we made it, and we're ready to get back to work. And then they're motivated. They want to be around the people at work. And to kind of refer back to some other things that, to refer to some other things. I'm not the one that makes these concepts up. The Q12 survey. One of the questions, one of my favorite questions, is, do I have a best friend at work? The Q12 survey is about engagement, and it's about just that thing. Hey, I just came back from spring break. I really don't want to work. I'm not motivated. I forgot 25% of the things I learned. So, or in my case, 75% of the things I've learned. But if you have a best friend at work and they keep you accountable and they say, hey, how are you doing today? And they truly care about you. And then your coworkers, this is another question in that Q12 survey. If your coworkers are committed to doing positive work, right, and productive work. If your coworkers are sneaking off to go in the back room and text their significant other, then you're stuck over there working. You're not going to feel like you're valued. I've got to work while this person gets away with murder, right? So having those environments already established is going to set you up for success any time that you have a big break like this, where people aren't in the office or aren't on the assembly line, the production line, and aren't working together. Biggest thing, team building, and continue to lead from the front and be a family member with these people. These people it's a small business. Get in there, give them some hugs. So.
You know, I absolutely love that idea of doing like a team building event. Real quick, I want to say hi to Cory Carpenter, who just checked in with us. Said hi guys, sorry jumping on late. The pecan thing was a really good idea. You know, you could remind your employees how much they matter by getting some pecans from Pecan Ridge, couldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like we're on the Blaze right now or something, and these people are not paying us. Maybe they should, but no, I'm kidding. But no, we love everybody here. Dylan Moore works for Pecan Ridge, and they do a great job with the pecans. We
forgot to mention Dan Bays. We've talked about Dan, but we didn't mention what he does.
Dan Bays Agency. Yeah, absolutely.
So he does insurance. I don't know how far expansive it is. I know he does commercial insurance. I don't know how much he does in the personal market.
I saw a thing on Facebook today. It said, if you got the cattle, we've got the coverage. He can cover your cattle if you got cattle. Cory and Phil is over Pat and Stu. It's better than Pat and Stu.
Well, thank you for that, Dylan. That's super awesome to hear that.
I don't know if we're up to that standard there, but yeah. So I guess to kind of close it out. Does anybody else have any questions? I know we've got about 3 minutes left on our hour. However, I'm fine with staying a couple minutes late and answering some questions. I'd like to kind of get the crowd involved if we can.
Yeah, absolutely. If anybody has any questions or anything they'd like to hear somebody talk about or anything like that.
Any questions?
Cue the awkward silence while we wait.
Yeah, absolutely. Get that music. Get some strobe lights in the background.
Absolutely.
But what? I've got a question. Real quick.
Since we were mentioning everyone's business, we didn't actually mention what Cory Carpenter does, minimize and organize.
Absolutely, Capri is she's awesome at organizing things and helping people to frame their mindset into an organization kind of mindset.
Absolutely.
That's really cool. Yeah. You know what we forgot to talk about? I've got a big bullet point and a star on my paper, and we didn't even talk about it. Identifying what's best for your business. We were going to kind of talk about. Do you hibernate? Do you continue?
Oh,
do
yeah.
Do a little bit of production.
The big thing that we kind of talked about here was, while we sit there and say, hey, everyone's business needs to keep going. You need to keep going. You need to power through this. We can't say that for every business. Every business is completely unique into itself. For instance, if you have a restaurant, you may be better off just letting everybody go and closing up your operations till this rolls over. That may be the best thing for you, depending on your own situation. And kind of my big question, and mainly it was to Cory, is if you have a business that comes to you and says, "Hey, this COVID-19 thing is destroying us. What in the world do we do?" What do you look at, Cory? What kind of stuff do you do?
Yeah, absolutely. What we need to really look at is what is the cost and the cost benefit of keeping your doors open, and what are your revenue streams going to be if you keep your doors open. So model that income statement after, hey, here's our expenses and here are our overhead and our variable costs, and here's the things that we're going to do, versus, hey, let's close the doors. What does it look like in 2 weeks, in 3 weeks, in 8 weeks? What do those models start to look like? You still got to pay rent. You still got to pay your mortgage. So at the end of the day, do we have enough cash? Can the business survive? Can the family survive? Can the families that we employ survive if we do action A versus action B? And so I think those are the big things to take away, is start modeling that. Here's the revenue that we were making. We're going to make probably 10% of that with our doors closed and doing curbside delivery or something like that. Now, Then you start to tweak some things. Hey, what if we hired Flint Avenue Marketing? What if we hired something to do a big ad campaign and advertise heavily that we do the curbside curbside takeaway, right? We haven't been doing that, so maybe we can ramp up that curbside takeaway. Yes, we're going to spend some money up front, but we're going to be able to make money and keep people employed. So what does that model look like? So that may be model 3. So you've got to model these financials out, and it really does take some time and it takes some work. And if you're not prepared to do that, then as far as I'm concerned, you're not prepared to run a business. But if you do need help, that's what your accountants are for. That's what your business consultants are for. These professionals are out there to help you, especially in a time like this. How do we model that? What does that look like? And so I think that's how I would approach it, is to say, okay, nobody knows what's going to happen, but what's our best guess, right? And let's put it on paper and go after it in a scientific and mathematical type of way, so that we can continue to keep our restaurant employees employed and keep their lights on at home, because they've got a wife and kids, or a husband and kids as well, right? So Capri says key takeaways.
Well, real quick, I want to touch on what you just said.
Yeah.
So really, like, I remember whenever I started a retail store that I owned, I had a giant Excel spreadsheet that was basically my business model. So if I said, I want to add another employee, I could go in there, add another employee to the employee tab, and bam, all my financials is spit out. And I go, okay, cool. I need to do 20 repairs a day to manage this many employees and have my cash flow look like this. Really, you're talking about, what you're saying is you should essentially pretend that this is a new business. You're starting a new business, and you need to rebuild your business plan during this. Not necessarily just to be able to kind of, but treat it as like you're modeling, like you're building a new business model almost out of your current one during this time.
Yeah, start at zero.
Revisit all those types of issues.
Yeah, start at zero. This is how much money we've got in the bank. Our business model has changed. We cannot have people in the lobby of our gym, or in the gym area, gatherings over 10. How do we do that? How do we do this? So yeah, start from zero. You've got this much money in the account. What's your burn rate? What's your budget? Dan's saying great time to redo your budget. It is a fantastic time to redo your budget. And
Dan also mentioned, Dan is a SCORE mentor, and he's mentioning that there are free business plan templates at score.org. That's SCORE.org. That is great. And I don't know if SCORE mentors are still meeting. Maybe Dan can chime in and let us know. But SCORE offers free mentoring for small businesses, and Dan is a fantastic mentor that also does that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think SCORE is a great organization, especially if you're a business that doesn't have a whole lot of resources available to you. I think they are former business owners and retired business owners, and just they've gone through some stuff, and so they can definitely help you out. And my business model, I really harp on experience-based leadership, and they do as well. They don't charge you anything for it, and it's a pretty cool service to get you started. Now, what they do is they help you out, and then you go off and do a lot on your own. Of course, they'll kind of guide you through some things. They'll mentor you, but they're not going to do some of the work for you. Most of the consultancies that they'll actually do the implementation if you ask them to as well. So, including my business. Same with Philip's business. Philip can tell you about all the IT stuff and be a consultant all day and mentor you, but he, and then on the back end, Robb Technology Group does the implementation as well, right? So it's a pretty good deal. I did want to recap. I think I want to let's wrap it up. And,
absolutely, Cameron had a great suggestion there. And Dan Bays also just commented. He said yes, SCORE mentors are still meeting. He's doing it virtually via phone mostly. And again, that website, if you're interested in it, is SCORE, SCORE.org.
Yeah, absolutely. We always leave them with homework. Yeah, absolutely. So let's wrap things up. one of the biggest things we talked about was keep doing things, just pivot how you do them. You got to really kind of rethink the way things are being done. If you had a physical meeting, if you're networking with people and having a meeting with two people in a coffee shop, you cannot do that anymore. How do we pivot, right? We're online, we're doing these things. If you're doing lunch and learns, do them online like this. If you're doing, what we talked about, expos and things like that, start a group. If there's not a group for you, start a group on Facebook and start adding people in there. I know what is that Chicago, Dylan, are you still in here? What is that Chicago market thing that everybody's raving about? Let's see. I don't know if he's still in here, but there's some kind of thing. It's a crafty thing in Lubbock. People are got their stuff going there. So create an expo, be that leader in the community, lean into your network for sure. What else did we talk about? We talked for a whole hour.
Yeah, it's gone by quick. We mainly talked. One of the big things we talked about is just utilize this time. Probably the worst thing you can do is do nothing. Even if it's something like me where I've had this training that I paid for that has been sitting in my email inbox for months and it hasn't been done, just because, hey, you are a busy business owner. This is a great time to do something. Sharpen your axe. However you can, you need to sharpen your axe, because when we come out of this, like I said, your restaurant, no one is eating out, and no one's been out of their house for months, or weeks. Trust me, you're going to be so full you can't imagine it. So you've got to be ready for that. There's going to be that side of this where everybody's going to go, oh my gosh, I can finally leave my house. All I've been wanting to do is XYZ, and your business may be that XYZ.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think expanding that capacity, like you just said, is super vital, because guess what? We're shrinking right now, but as soon as we come back, everybody's just going to be, we need this, we need this, we need this. And it is just going to, I think it's going to be a madhouse. Frankly.
Yeah, for instance, one of the things I'm sitting there going, I really need to go get a haircut. It's bugging me so bad. And so I know the second this COVID-19 thing kind of lifts, I'm going to be running to go get my haircut. And, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a big line for it.
Well, and a lot of people think it's same with your business. Are you going to give yourself a haircut?
Absolutely not.
So why would you do these other things? Rely on your network, and I've definitely got a guy. I've got a set of people that do things for me. I'm not gonna iron my shirts. Sorry, that's just something I'm not gonna do. I'm also not gonna cut my hair. And so, Dan says, by the way, this may be the only time you actually get to see your IT guy. Go out and rely on your network and get things done. I think, and continue to read. One of the things I was going to say about online learning is LinkedIn Learning has, they bought what was that called? The Lynda, Lynda. They bought Lynda Learning, and they've renamed it to LinkedIn Learning. And so now you can get on LinkedIn and get that learning. And I don't know if it's a premium service or not. I have premium through their veterans program, but I'm not sure if
so it's not free. I pulled it up right now, but I don't see an actual cost on here, but I do see start my free month. So obviously, if you're going to be locked in your house for the next 30 days, you've got a free month to start trying that.
Heck, yeah.
And I'm looking just through here, marketing on LinkedIn, sophisticated marketer's guide, how to be heard on LinkedIn. It sounds like it's a lot of great networking training, just kind of like what we do in Master Networks, where you're just teaching people how to network. There's marketing, business, design, education, e-learning, video. It looks like a lot of great content on there.
I tell you what, that's a lot of what I do. If I don't need a certification all the time. And they'll give you a certificate for some of those classes. So if you do need to keep up to date, they actually have certificates for some of that stuff. You can do that. Audible is really great. Amazon's still delivering books, so get a book shipped out to you. Get learning, guys, and it's very, very essential that you expand not only your knowledge but your business as well with that capacity, because it's going to come back and it's going to flood back.
And Dan Bays of Dan Bays Agency is mentioning Master Networks has just opened up a new Master Networks University. It's free to all members. Over 100 hours of content. If you are interested in Master Networks, you're hearing about it from here today, you can reach out to myself or Cory, Lubbock Consulting or Robb Technology Group. Just send us a message and we can get you hooked up. Our next meeting will be virtual, so it's super easy. No reason you can't make it. Even if you're outside of the Lubbock area, we have chapters all over Texas. And if there's not a chapter in your area, we're probably interested in forming one. So still contact us.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'll tell you what, the Master Networks has got all kinds of different things. It's got the online learning. It's got resources to help you become a better networker, to become a better presenter in front of people. It also, we've got, the convention that we had to move, but now that's a better opportunity for you to get going in the Dallas area in the fall, in August, I believe. And so, we've got great opportunities in that networking group. We're leaning in. We're trying to get things done, especially virtually. And, other networks are shutting down. They're just not having meetings. They're not having virtual meetings.
Really?
Physical meetings. Yeah. The other networks, some of them are just all over the world. They're shutting down. So we believe in physical distancing, not social distancing, and so we can build those social relationships. So, any final closing comments there, Philip?
No, I think we've done a pretty good job covering everything.
Well, great. Yeah, I was kind of glad we got a couple of questions there at the end, and I guess we'll just have to maybe do this again sometime.
Absolutely, and Dan is just mentioning that our Master Networks Connect, that is DFW area, right? Is where
it is.
Okay,
Yeah.
It's going to be the DFW area. It is August 6th through 8th. And again, if you're interested in anything Master Networks related, do definitely contact me or Cory, and we can help you out with that.
Absolutely.
And it does not cost
All right,
anything
guys.
to come to your first meeting, kind of expose yourself to the group, see if it's something you're interested in.
Absolutely. Yep. Okay, well, thanks, Phil, for joining, and I'm glad to see you, and we'll go ahead and close this out. You guys have a great day.
Have a good one, guys.